do some Pilates breaths.
For your 100 series.
100 series sucks so much. 100 series, I do think it's just a must that children grow up in some sort of sport or movement related activity like constantly throughout their childhood. Not constantly like, and then drill them throughout the summer and then drill them like, but throughout the year, because seriously, I can only imagine the amount of damage I would feel to my body and discomfort in my body and skin with the adult weight of the world on my shoulders if I hadn't had the tools from growing up in dance. And I think dance specifically because you learn about flexibility and strength and stamina and also literally just how to conduct yourself.
Because you learn so many skills at once, counting music and musicality, working with other people but having self-awareness and proprioception. It's artistry with activity. Like, obviously we're partial to it because we did it, but actually when you think about all of the things that go into it, I just think that you're really setting yourself up. You don't have to do that forever. You could then go off to do any sort of sport and activity and just have really good awareness, and you learn about your different muscles and the little things that are being activated and thinking of your breath work and whatnot, which hopefully good coaches in other sports try to draw attention to as well. But
yeah, it's so interesting just how often throughout my life I think about the things I learned in dance, like even sometimes on the tattoo table, with that being my job, I think about when it's a dancer up there, how like they will just, we literally learned about like giving weight to someone if they're picking up your arm or picking up your leg, like releasing and giving weight, or at least being in tune with like what they're doing with that body part at the moment. So for me, literally like rotating the arms and rotating the legs on the tattoo table, depending on the positioning I need, I feel different with different people doing it, because you'll see like some people really fight it quickly, or they immediately try to like pick it up for you. And in dance we learned so much to like surrender to that type of thing.
Your partner.
Yeah, to your partner, to other touch.
Welcome to the Q&R code. Today we're joined by a very special guest, St. Nicholas's beard. You can't see my whole St. Nick right by me, which is unfortunate because it's like my favorite Christmas decoration. I can't even say that. I love my Christmas decorations so much, but it's one of, because it's handmade by our grandpa, and he painted this, for anyone that's not looking on the or watching the video, he painted on a piece of like found wood a really fun Santa Claus depiction. It has a very long white beard. You can't see his face, again, unfortunate on the video, and found this stick, beautiful branch twig that goes into the base of it, and it just was time in the holidays for him to come out.
Little Saint Nick, because he needs to see you when you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
he's watching Roger sleeping right now, who might be
it's a
getting
miracle
coal.
that yes, some coal and some gifts. It's amazing that twig has stayed intact throughout the moves that has seen, and I am so grateful. And I heard Sailor Jerry has just been a frequent name drop from us recently, but she puts so much effort and like storytelling into her social media, so it's easy to have something to think back of. You know, she just recently communicated the thought of whenever she moves that she just like parts with all of her stuff and lets go and starts fresh and like gives it all away. And I
That
love
must
the
be nice.
yeah, the thought behind that is special and very freeing feeling. Like in some ways that sounds like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? But also I think Riley and I, how we are with possessions, and it's a way we very much learned from our parents and like our mom and grandma very much. I was just thinking about that on my bed, you guys, handed down. I have a quilt on the foot of my bed that was started in 1913 and our was kind of passed through the generations of our great grandma to literally great great and then great grandma putting it together, because I guess it just kind of was a project that got passed down, and it's so beautiful. And that I have that quilt on my bed from 1913, and that it serves us as like a beautiful thing, a sentimental thing, and a layer for us in the wintertime. Like, that is what about possessions brings me joy. That type of thing, when it's especially handmade art. Like, I just feel so precious and hold that stuff in life so tightly, because like I think about that for a home losing a home to fire or something like that horrible, and how of course like you're able, as long as no one is hurt, and obviously the financial recovery, but it's people make it like, you'll be okay because it's just stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I think it's fair for that to take a serious emotional toll, because I just can't imagine like my paintings, my brother's paintings,
Yeah.
if this stuff burned in a fire, like, oh my gosh, the heartache that would be. And I obviously just think of all of the fires that have happened throughout time, but these past couple of years that have been so intense, and natural disasters in general. And I think it's one of the things in life, like on my mule search, I have a little bit fallen in love with a couple of mules that people have warned and been like, don't get too attached because you don't know what's happening yet. And I so see that, but I also feel like I have to just, in my heart, it is so much better for me if I am quicker to love and like be excited and treasure something in life and have to go through the heartache than to feel like one step removed from my stuff, or like I'm not, just being blasé about the stuff I have. I'm gonna love it for, and cherish it while it's in my space, and it brings me so much joy.
I know you don't mean it this way, but it is funny to like lump a mule in with the stuff I have, but I totally know what you mean. Yeah, of course, ultimately, if you lose your possessions, they are just things, and ultimately it's much better to like have your life and have lost your stuff. But of course, we have heirloom pieces. I am looking right now at my ornament collection in particular. I feel like because of the way those little items get passed down, like I have an ornament from my great grandma and many from my grandma's collection, and yeah, I would be pretty devastated. And also with the like starting all over when you move again stuff, not to put this on other people, but I do have the feeling of overconsumption vibes. It's one thing if you're going and like you source secondhand stuff and then you're giving it away or donating it and acquiring used things again, but in general I just think that the lowest carbon impact you can have is trying to just buy the thing once and keep it until the absolute end of its lifespan. And I definitely wouldn't want to replace my stuff, also because I sourced these like secondhand things that are very unique. It's not just like I can order it from IKEA again. It's stuff that I love, but this will be my first time having to do a big move where I owned a lot more things because before,
A
like
lot
in
of
college,
furniture.
yeah, in
A
college I
lot.
lived in like a furnished apartment and stuff, so now I'm gonna have to get a legit moving truck situation going, but I told myself I don't have to think about us moving until the spring, so I'm not going to. Quinn, I heard a little bit about this, but then I was like, shh, save it for the pod because I thought it would be fun. I feel like we used to, maybe earlier on in the podcast, talk a little bit more about fashion, but we're both lovers of fashion, and it's something that we enjoy expressing ourselves with. But I also, and Quinn can correct me if I'm wrong, but feel like sometimes it's not at the forefront of our thought every day because we just like dress in our style and it works for us, but that's not like it can't be as prioritized as other things because of what we have going on. And so maybe we don't make it clear on the podcast. And believe me, sometimes, often, Quinn and I are rolling onto the podcast not being like, oh, we have our most fashion forward outfits on because we're recording in the middle of our days while we have other things going on. But we do love a style moment, and Quinn is going to a themed holiday party tonight, so that's really fun and gives her the opportunity to put more of an outfit together. Want to tell us about that a little?
Yes. So the theme is Mad Men, which I realized how little context I had for Mad Men when I looked it up and was like, oh, 60s fashion? I just was literally picturing Men in Black. Like, I did not know what
Quinn's
Mad
like,
Men was.
okay, sunglasses and a suit.
Yeah, I seriously thought it was like black tie situation. So anyway, very glad I did some more research into that. But I'm excited because, of course, our first thought was sourcing as much as we possibly can from our own closet. And by the way, a creator that I've started following, I've known about her for a while, but just started following recently, is Lucy B. Hutchins, I believe. That she's super passionate about secondhand and thrifting and shopping in your closet. I love the notion of shopping in your closet
She's
because,
a personal stylist.
yeah, she's a personal stylist that lives in Utah and is friends with Haley Rawl, who we talk about, that does the Girls Camp podcast. But I was thinking at first, there was a couple ways I could do it, because of course I could just do a more like myself in a trousers and oversized blazer type of situation, or could go more the dress route, which is kind of fun for 60s. And I actually just have the perfect thing from Riley that was handed down from Riley that she got secondhand from the brand Realization Par. And it's a brown mini long sleeve like chiffon dress with white like cream swirls. It is, being chiffon, I was like, maybe not the most seasonally appropriate, but here's how I feel when this is the type of thing that matters, like doing your best with what you have and having fun and like going for the theme. But for me to go out, I just think it would be so silly to go out and try to buy the perfect winter 60s fashion look. Like, no, I'm going to do the best I can with what I have and have so much fun. That being said, I did shop for one item because it is, like I said, it's a mini dress, and I think I will use these again. I ended up getting some maroon tights. So Sean and I wanted to have a date to the mall last night because growing up in Jackson, Wyoming, we did not, and there is still not, a mall situation. There is a mall like, an hour and a half away, but I never around Christmas time experienced a mall like what I now have access to in Colorado. They really deck out their malls.
Deck
It is
the halls,
very,
if you will.
they deck the
malls.
Yes. And I really enjoy that. That's the type of thing where it's like, okay, we can understand about the consumerism. I can understand that the concrete jungle vibe, that is not what I resonate with. That is not what tends to make my heart sing. But it is there. It is being decorated, whether I step in or not. And I can really appreciate a mall walk. This one mall in particular I like, and has all the decorations, and there's Christmas music playing, which, yes, I mess with in a big way. And we got a little hot chocolate, and we got a tea from, they have a local tea store that will make you any of the drinks that they sell in the house. Like any of the tea flavors they have, they'll make you any of that. So we tried an alpine chai is what it was called. Delish. And headed to Nordstrom for my tights, which thankfully it was a very quick experience of I found the tights quickly, think that they'll be the right thing. I did end up also buying a couple pairs of underwear because we know my horrible situation of just all thongs and not any room for breathing for my crack, and that is just not fair to myself, and I'm 26 years old and I deserved some different underwear. Still only got 2 pairs, and I'm just a little bit kicking myself about the Black Friday sales on 100% cotton underwear that I just let slip through my fingers because I could not make a decision and just press go for the order. However, something I noticed while I was in there, and I know I've departed a bit from the fashion look, but figured I would tell you about our little mall date because it was really fun and sweet. I felt more in my life uninterested in shopping than I can ever remember before. And I think that, like, it has truly set into me. I just really do not want to buy stuff from stores that I don't resonate with, that are not truly high quality products, that aren't natural materials, that aren't sourced ethically and sustainably. Like, I know I'm saying that and I'm wearing an Aritzia sweater, but being in there, it just really made me feel like I just am so uninterested to spend my time shopping right now. Like, we literally found the stuff we found and shopped the tea house and ate food at the food court and had fun doing that, and just had no desire for shopping past that. And I'm so glad to feel that way, and it is no shame. I understand if people have fun shopping. I understand, like, trying on clothes can be fun. It can also, I think, for some people be really not fun.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, but anyway,
trying clothes
it's
on
just
will make me want to leave a place faster than anything. I like bring in my pile and then I'm 3 deep and I'm like, I don't want anything. Can we please leave? I hate this.
Yeah, which I used to enjoy shopping more, but I've always had that feeling that you just described. But then there have been times where I would be like, oh, this thing is cute. This thing is cute. And now, I don't know. I almost feel similarly about being in a thrift store, because people will be like, oh, that's just so unappetizing to dig through things, and being at a box store or whatever it is that's curated and everything's fresh. I get that, and like, the vibe is different and it is much more aesthetically pleasing to go into Free People than to Goodwill. But I'm honestly like, I feel just more motivated to thrift than I feel to buy new. And that is saying something, because I feel incredibly unmotivated to thrift. I have just been enjoying my closet as it is, and like really making the attempt to try something new if I'm not having fun. Add more accessories. I've been adding more pins to stuff. Anyway, I'll tell you about the last part of the outfit. Okay, so we're going kind of a chocolatey then maroon vibe. And a few years ago, when I first moved to Denver, Matilda Jerf was part of the influence on me just loving her shoe collection. She has like such pretty,
has cutest little like kitten heels and stuff, which
yes,
I still love the shoe collection. Asterix, not for everyone.
Ouch.
I'm a cowgirl boot kind of bitch and sneakers, I guess, because then you get a pair on and I'm like, how actually do women walk New York City streets in stilettos? I can't understand it. You're brave and I'm not. Sorry.
I am not cut out like that. I'm just not. But what I will say is, so this time period a few years ago, I was so, and I always have been really into fashion, and I love, I do love fashion. Like, I've always been very inspired by, especially looking through like vintage fashion books and what? I can tell you're chomping at the bit to say something.
No, when you said that, I was just picturing that you can just reference our pages of fashion journals as kids. We designed plenty of our own collections, don't you worry.
Yes. Very early on, I decided what my wedding dress would look like, and it's funny because it actually turned out to be pretty similar to what my vision was as a 6 and 7-year-old, sketching it in my journal for me, Riley, and our friend Sloane's fashion brand.
Yes.
Has not had our first drop yet, but just stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Big things coming.
Big things coming. Just never happening. Can you imagine, right? That would be the turn of the century if we ended up that coming to fruition, that business
It'd be
plan.
badass. And I would never say never.
And now I'm actually diving in full send because why haven't we been acting on this? No,
business
but
meeting after this.
So I was really just like, oh, these shoes are so fun, so fun. And I couldn't help myself at the time. I was feeling in a different bit of a shopping mode. And I did buy several pairs of vintage, like designer heels from the Real. And one of them is this beautiful pair of Jimmy Choo boots with a little heel and kind of pointy snip toe they are kind of a 60s style. So I'm going to be wearing those. They're tall, like maybe mid calf and wide going up the legs. I wish I knew what this type of boot was called, but I can't think of the style name. Anyway, so that's going to be fun, and we are going to have Sean dressed in some fun trousers and a blazer and do a little cheetah print silk scarf. So we'll take pics and hopefully just have fun. It sounds like an incredible evening, that there are a couple of stages where you start in the little cocktail lounge with the custom cocktails and things move to a beautiful buffet dinner. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it.
That's gonna be really fun. Today was also our holiday party at work, but it wasn't just for employees. We hosted it for customers, and there were many pomegranate margaritas being mixed up by the same teacher that did the cocktail workshop I talked about on the podcast in the summer. And then we had like little treats and wine, and it was really fun. But the tamales were really delicious. I am a little surprised by how many people that asked, including my coworkers, which I'm like, no shame, you guys. Just a little shocked. How many of you were like, so do you open
eat the wrapper?
And do you, yeah, they were like, do you eat this part? I'm like, nope. No, you do not. Doesn't it seem too tough to eat? But anyway, I just thought that was funny.
I remember
like, it's
seeing
not like
a reel of that.
Really?
Seeing a reel of someone just chomping into the whole thing like, wow, this is weird.
It's just funny because I'm like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm the most cultured person in the world, but I'm like, this is your guys' first time all having tamales and you're at the youngest 29? Like, that's just kind of shocking to me, but welcome to the wonderful world of masa's many forms.
There,
Any
I can't stop, won't stop when tamales are an offering. Like, oh my
Yeah, and they're
goodness.
such a like holiday staple, I feel like, at least in certain cultures and traditions. They're just so delicious. There were two different types. Also, again, with I'm like, white people cannot escape the allegations of not being able to handle spice whatsoever because I was eating it and it was delicious. It wasn't spicy at all. And my coworker was like, "Oh my gosh, this is spicy. Like it's good, but it's pretty spicy." And I'm like, wow, no wonder people from other cultures are like, I don't believe you if you're a white person and you're like, yeah, I kind of like it spicy. They're like, they're not gonna like it spicy because it was actually about as spicy as a tomato. Like it's just, I'm like, it's just not
Riley.
spicy. I'm serious. I don't even think there was jalapenos in the sauce. Like it, to me, it's cacio e pepe is spicier with pepper. Like it was anyway. It's just funny because I'm like, really, I am not having that experience, but oh, people are sensitive to it, and I can understand that. I also think that it's hard to imagine because I like spicy, but I'm nowhere near someone that like grew up in a culture or family that is like actually legitimately spicy ass peppers. Like I don't know, just the peppers that people will munch on in Mexico.
Well,
I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, we were not raised with that, but we were raised that hot sauce was something we were eating from the time we were
little
actually
kids. Yeah.
before kindergarten. Like, we always growing up were like, yes to the slap your mama on our eggs, please, and yes to like tapatio being the absolute mildest. We like ate that all the time. So that type of hot sauce obviously not even phased. And then because of my dad working with this guy that gave him what was the super spicy hot sauce that we tried as kids? Oh, 100% pain.
100% pain. Yeah. That is not my favorite hot sauce, that's for sure. But yes, I love a hot sauce. What else was I gonna tell you before I get into what I was gonna say? Oh, I am excited because from my work I got Brayden and I a little Christmas tree kit. So we don't have enough space in our house to have an actual Christmas tree. And I was just like, okay, we don't need a tree. This can be our tree with our Saint Nick. But there's this fun little kit that's the brand is called Lovey, and it's like you punch out it's sheets of wood that then they laser cut, I assume, and then you like can punch it out and build your own. And so there's gonna be like a little countertop size tree for us to have
Nice.
our little Christmas tree. So I'm excited about that.
That definitely is the most applicable thing to me from that brand that I've ever seen because you guys have carried those things for a long time, and I just don't typically feel like that type of 3D situation is something I'd tend to decorate with, but I could totally see the application for the Christmas tree making sense.
Yeah, I think that it'll be really fun, and then you just take it down and put it away. They're fun kits to do, but I think what I have thought with them before is they're kind of a dust nightmare. Like if you were just leaving these, it's hard for me to even describe, but if you like can picture just a kit that you slide these different wooden pieces together and build a 3D object, I
Thin
think
wooden
that
pieces.
yeah. And my mom is probably who has rubbed this off on me where I'm always thinking about like if something's going to exist in your space, is it just gonna be a
Collecting
dust
dust.
nightmare?
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about something less Christmassy that I've been thinking about because Quinn did influence me, so I went back to watch the seasons of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives that I haven't seen. I'm not done with the third, but I finished the second. And
And Riley
honestly,
did message me and say that the cheetah print overalls that my brother Keaton just gave me were literally exactly matching with a pair that Jesse wore pumpkin at the pumpkin patch last year.
yeah, I'm like, you got snagged by Instagram Shop too.
Yeah.
um, there's so much to go into with this show, honestly, but I'm picking one lane. There's a lot to unpack from watching it. It's a very interesting cultural uh I was gonna say experiment, but that's not the word. Insight, like just to see that Provo Mormon culture, but these are people that are kind of trying to challenge some of that. It's very strong in Utah, the Mormon culture, so that influence, whether they're a church going member or not, I think is really present in this group. And the specific theme that I wanted to talk about today is just the way that they are constantly surveilling each other. And I will get into it more. I don't think this is a uniquely Mormon thing. However, I think that the way that the Mormon church has such specific rules for membership that is down to like such minutia that people have come up with things like soaking and docking and all of these workarounds because you're just trying to follow the rules but still get to do the things that you want to do. So then there's even terms like Jack Mormon for if you're a Mormon that's not actually following the guidelines the way that other people deem it like the gold standard. It's kind of a way of saying you're not like actually fully committed to this. And to be able to go to the temple, which is the highest place on earth in that faith, you have to have a recommendation from your bishop, and if they hear or think in your community that you're not doing the right thing, like that could be revoked from you. So there's all these reasons that people have to like put on such a front or a demonstration of their faith. It's not, to me, just like such an internal personal faith thing. It's very governed by what you're doing, because if someone sees you having a cup of coffee, they could be like, oh, well, that's not legit. You know, you're not supposed to do that. And I don't think that every single individual LDS person is doing this, but I do think that it creates a big cultural incentive to demonstrate your faith rather than just practice it and live in it. And there's such a desire to achieve this perfect image that I think it comes at a lot of costs. And this isn't even about stuff that is specifically in the faith necessarily. I guess it kind of is, but for example, like there was the swinging scandal that started it all, where Taylor reveals that she's with a group of people that has been swinging, but seasons later, like the years later, I have to assume, I don't know the exact timeline, but people are still being like, prove what actually happened. Like, what did you do? What sex acts did or didn't happen? And people are so like invested in what exactly happened. And of course, there's an element of that. That's just curiosity. People love to know details. We love to know what's going on. But I also think that part of it is like, depending on what it is, I'm going to decide how harshly you should or shouldn't be judged. And I feel that it's just nobody else's business. Like, unless you're the people directly involved with what's going on, I just don't think that it matters. And whether they're, even when it comes down to a kiss, they're like, was it like a peck or was it a longer kiss or was it with tongue? I'm just like, oh my God. Like,
Throwback to middle school.
it feels like that in so many ways where I'm like, who cares? It's just not your business. It doesn't matter. I feel like there's this such nitty gritty critique focusing on to me, it's minutia, but I'm not going to speak forever on this before I give Quinn a turn to talk, but I feel like there's so much to say about it. I also think that because these women they rose to prominence because of TikTok specifically, influencer more generally, but I think that this has infiltrated the general culture in a big way because of social media, because we get to look inside of all these moments of each other's lives that we not normally, I guess, but in the past wouldn't have been able to. We're not seeing the interior of people's homes when they're going about their business. We weren't seeing in your car these in-between moments that now social media gives us such a lens into, that we are all becoming more complicit in surveilling each other, and that is something I am very resistant to.
Yeah, I just knew that was coming around. I don't know why I was just waiting for you to say the word surveillance, because you just described so much, but to put the bow on it of what you're talking about, I think you got inspired to consider the topic of surveillance even more because of the way that applies to the Mormon culture. First of all, just the surveillance that is more personal, that you could, in some ways, like, it's, I guess, less harmful in a more worldwide scale, but still can feel very harmful, like you're saying, within communities or within friend groups, within a family. But then the implication that surveillance can have, Riley messaged me about this topic of surveillance, and I'm not kidding. That night when I did my Instagram scroll, multiple things on my algorithm were about surveillance. So I was like, okay, well, hate that I'm being surveilled in this moment, but at the same time, work that I now have this extra little feedback for me to work with, because a reel that I saw was about how the CIA, like, there was a big, obviously there have been many large data breaches that affect people that I think a lot of us don't really know the severity or understand about how personal information data breaches can affect you as much as they can. But even the CIA did reveal that, yes, in fact, they could tap into any person's computer or phone, camera, see what's going on in your camera, tune into the speakers, monitor conversations. Just basically, Riley, you and I have been on the right freaking note forever, being like, we need to whisper as quiet as possible whenever, like, Riley and I used to, even if we were just talking, the
turn the
slightest,
shower on.
Yeah, whispering in each other's ear, even just the slightest bit of shit talking we used to do. Like, in middle school, we would literally be like, be so quiet right now. We're like alone in our house, but we're like, straight up, we do not want this getting out, and we know that we can trust each other with it. But we've always been right for that, Riley, because then I also saw this, I think he was former CIA, that said the things to do are like, or even a security guy being like, in hotel rooms, do check for these little places that cameras can be put, and check in your closet, and check, like, microphones and cameras can be very easily put in discreet places that you can then be surveilled. Yikes, that is not we're gonna forget all about this for the rest of the Christmas season, and then we can tap back in when we need to think of like problem solve something haunting. But it just is a horrible, icky feeling that makes me want to go like freaking Steve Martin after sleeping in the bed with John Candy in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Shake that out of your system because horrible. Horrible
And
to think of being surveilled in that way.
it's so invasive, but I do think what you're talking about with like government surveillance, people can identify it doesn't make me feel comfortable. I don't want that. But then don't think of it as like surveillance when we do it to each other. But I do think that when we're scrutinizing these details of each other's lives so closely, that amounts to the same thing. And my feeling is that you can't get comfortable doing that because that makes you more likely to be comfortable with surveillance on a broader scale. And something in the book on tyranny, again, I'm bringing it up. I do think that everyone should read it. It's the tiniest book and it has a lot of important ideas to think about. And something that they discuss is that there is a trade-off for security versus surveillance, and you have to decide, is it more important to me to have privacy or safety in certain situations? But there's also, I think that safety is of course important, but sometimes there's an overblown response. For example, our small town in Wyoming, I don't know if this ever ended up happening or not, but a couple years ago I read in our local newspaper that they were going to set up a monitoring system that anywhere in town that you drove would have cameras that captured your license plate, and those locations and your license plates would all be available for anyone to see where you have been and what time. And that was in the name of preventing crime. And this is a place that has an extremely low crime rate. Extremely low crime rate, but particularly for anything that is a violent crime. Maybe there's some shoplifting and that sort of thing here and there. Still not common, but it's like, okay, why would we agree to all of us, A, spend a ton of taxpayer money on this system that is addressing a problem that we don't have, and B, have this watchdog happening when there's just no need for it. It's different than, to me, like CCTV in a city that has like, you know, all these dark corners and stuff that maybe it's like, you know what? Maybe I am willing to give up a little bit of my privacy when I'm walking around Times Square for the chance that a crime takes place and we want to have that footage to be able to help an investigation. Again, not everyone's going to agree with that. There are people that might say, I'd rather take the risk and I don't want to be videoed all the time. But I feel like that is maybe a more appropriate application.
So I agree that that's a more appropriate application, but I also think like it is kind of something that they're selling as let's protect you, when the reality is that there are so many groups that I care about so much that are not having any effort of being protected, that are in harm's way currently. And there are so many cold cases, like talking about Indigenous women that are missing, that there is no effort of surveillance put in there. I guess I can't say, I obviously don't know that 100% for a fact, but based on the reading and learning I've done about these cases, I just think that that's kind of an act to be like, we want to do this for good. We want to do this for preventing crime. We want to. I just don't buy that it is for the civilians' best interest in mind. I believe it is for what I consider surveillance in a negative connotation of having information, building information around people's lives and habits and identity and whatever it is, than actually we are trying to make a big effort toward preventing or solving crimes. Like,
Yeah.
there isn't, the taxpayer dollars aren't going toward special services trying to find these missing people currently. So,
yeah. And it's so hard to speak to when it's big, complicated issues, but I think for the amount of time that those, I don't know, I feel like, of course, when someone has done something truly horrible, you're a murderer, you want to be like, yeah, we should be able to get into their phones and like figure this out, because we of course just want the right thing to happen. We don't want someone that has been atrocious to have that happen. But I don't want our government that we have a current administration in now that is arresting people based off of racial profiling to be able to, if they suspect that someone's an immigrant without paperwork, be able to access those, like, their personal data. I don't want our government to be able to do that. It's a double-edged sword, but I'm like, I feel like probably the majority of the time, the majority of people deserve their full right to privacy. And I think when we look back at history and we see a different time of in the 30s with big fascist movements around the world, and we didn't have technology all in our pockets like this all the time, there were people that were choosing to surveil their neighbors, and they were reporting their own, like, people in their towns, in their lives. And that was without, people say, oh, but if you're like, what about if you're a soldier and you have orders? Well, that's kind of just an excuse, because you have no responsibility to do that as a citizen, and citizens were just reporting people and choosing because they thought that that would protect them. They were turning against each other, and I think that that is obviously so wrong. I think that that's horrible. I shouldn't just refer to the 30s, because people are doing that now. People are reporting people that they know or believe to be undocumented, and I think that is inexcusable. And A, mind your own business, and B, if you don't think that there's anything that people could hold against you and you're going to do that to other people, if you believe in God, I think that you should be concerned about that. If you don't, you should be concerned about karma or just being a good, decent person. Long story short, about my rant for today, if you find yourself noticing, oh, I feel like I'm kind of catching someone out with something like that, maybe we should take a moment to reflect and remember that isn't our job to police each other. We should support each other if there's something you notice that's actually concerning you about someone. If your safety is at risk in a real way, not, I feel that my safety is at risk because I saw a black person in my neighborhood. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that your safety is at risk. If you see a white guy in your neighborhood with an AR on their back, maybe you should be concerned about that, and that's a different story. Yes. You guys all know that this podcast advocates for nuance. It's extremely complicated. There's no one right way to go about it, but especially circling back to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, when these people are your friends, you're supposed to be friends with people. You're supposed to be supporting each other. You're not supposed to be trying to dig into people's business, what was actually said, what actually happened. Like that sort of behavior, I'm just like, no friend of mine.
Yeah.
No friend of mine.
Honestly, Riley, that was you did a great job picking up on that about the Mormon church and all of that stuff, because this season 3 with the Secret Lives was just like, oh my gosh, why are they so concerned about finding out exactly what happened? The details. Like, I couldn't put my finger on why they were acting like that exactly. Because I just think it was a weird, like, how the whole season, including from Jesse, and no, I'm not even saying judgment to these women. I'm truly not. I love watching them. I think that it's, like, I like them. So it's not being judgmental of them, but yes, in the culture, it is like, what is going on? Like, why? I was even so confused that Jesse was pursuing Marciano to that level to be like, I want to know exactly what happened with this. I don't know. It was just kind of confusing to me. Like, you want to spend that much time and energy and, like, really dedicate to this. You'll never know exactly. You'll just never know exactly what happened, no matter what Marciano says or a lie detector test says or what your friends say. Like, I think even,
but I think that comes from, we don't have someone to answer to. We're allowed to live in the gray area. It's like, that's my shit. That's my responsibility, and you don't have to live with it. And in that context, it's like, no, there isn't a gray area. Either you're going to heaven or you're not, or you're like, you're part of this exclusive club or you're not.
But even with Jessie, who is ex-Mormon, and I don't even think, like, that was her concern. She grew up in that culture and is heavily affected by that, being in that bubble and with how much of her community is a part of that. And also, I can't speak for what would happen in that situation, if it were me, shoe on the other foot, about obviously someone saying that you had sex with them and you didn't. I could understand why it's like her wanting to get to the bottom of, like, what was your intention behind saying that, because that's obviously a very serious thing to say happened when it didn't happen. So
yeah,
but it's just,
but it's also like, how do you prove that you didn't do something?
Yeah,
that's such a hard thing to prove, especially when it's something as ephemeral as having sex. It's like, how can I prove that I have not done that?
Yeah.
So that's why, in my mind, if somebody were coming at me like that and I knew I hadn't, I'd be like, well, I haven't. That's not true.
Well, also, I guess, thinking about Jessie for this case for her, I see how with her partner, with Jordan, that's probably also a very inspiring
Quinn,
part.
don't even bring up
like,
this man's name towards the end of the podcast, because we don't have time, but
yeah,
is how I feel.
He is not my favorite guy. And so I see she also felt that pressure too, to be like, no, I'm so serious. I did not. This is a lie. And you're acting like you can't trust me and kind of like gaslighting me. But I did not. And I told you way sooner. I told you what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's hard to even put yourself in those shoes, because thinking about with our husbands, I'm like, I can't imagine if they were speaking and treating to me the way that he did, how much I would be like, I can't believe that you would speak to me like that. It's out of my conception, and it's honestly really sad seeing more this season into a peak of that. And I, like I said, haven't finished it, so we'll have to see what happens. But in terms of their relationship, I saw the scene where, if you remember, Quinn, they're like sitting down after she met up and did the lie detector test with him, and I don't remember the exact semantics, but Jordan was basically like, the reason that I've treated you poorly in the past is because you act like this. Basically, you
Yeah.
deserve it. Like, you're so trashy, you're so untrustworthy. I yada yada yada, talking to her like that on camera. I'm like,
Yeah.
so you don't even realize that you're being emotionally abusive right now. And I'm not using that word willy-nilly. I think that sometimes those accusations are thrown around, but he was literally telling her she's worthless and that's why he's treated her as such. And I'm like, do you not know that this is going to come out and people are going to see this and see your behavior?
Yeah, that was really, really sad. I feel so horribly for her to have been treated that way. And I don't know if you know that she also, her previous marriage was abusive. And she left that because of the abuse. And, well, not only she can tell her own story. I actually listened to the Vile Files, which a very rare moment for me that I'll press and tune into what's happening on the Vile Files. But I wanted to listen to Jesse because, like I said, I care about them, and like they are celebrities to me that very much feel like real people. Like they, you know, I think they're a lot easier to believe and relate to and like feel like you could understand them than some other, like the Kardashians.
Or the
But
housewives.
yeah, but anyway, she talked a lot about her last relationship on her recent episode on there, and that's just really sad and hard to see because she's like, I got straight into this marriage with Jordan after leaving my ex-husband, and this, like, I just fell into basically this trap again, and I'm now being treated this way, so it's so triggering. And I realize that I didn't even have time to recover from the abuse in my first marriage because I literally jumped into my second marriage to avoid those feelings and that processing. And now she was just like, I just can't believe I've let myself get in this same situation again.
I really hope a more positive turn can happen for her because, yeah, it's just really sad seeing in her therapy appointment that when her, we all can struggle with self-worth and whatnot, but her therapist was like, what's something you like about herself? And she just, like, has so little self-worth and self-confidence, even though on the outside, I'm like, wow, she's so gorgeous, she's so successful, she's worked really hard, like all those things, and to be in that position and feel like nothing, and it just makes me feel horrible because I'm like, I am not a millionaire that has a big platform that's on a TV show and stuff, and I'm like, I think that I'm doing great. I don't know, it's just I can't imagine being in a relationship that tears you down because my relationship is such a help in my life. I feel so boosted by that. I feel like more empowered as an independent person as well. It's not just within my relationship. Like, I feel like I'm able to be my own person more because of it, and I just want that for other people.
It's also one of those situations where for her and that she cheated, she is really owning that and like very much owning that and bringing it up and being honest about it. And I am like, I'm not saying it's justified, which she has said this whole time, there's no reason it's not justified, but that for her to have emotionally cheated and then a couple of kisses, again, now this is me being nitpicky about what happened, but it is just like, yeah, think of, I can give someone like that made the mistake of cheating such grace.
It's just such a different thing than
like she felt
being in a stable, healthy, strong relationship and then having been sleeping with all these random people behind their back. That's obviously a different behavior than someone that's really struggling, has been for years, is separated, and like has someone give them validation that they feel that like loved and comfortability and whatnot. Of course, like you said, it's not to say that's necessarily the right choice to make, but I also think that to act like all infidelity is the same and deserves the same level of scorn is not an appropriate reaction either.
Yeah.
Well, Quinn and I figured that one out for you guys. You're welcome. I was thinking, because it is still December time, should we leave this episode on the note of like a holiday wish of something you would like to do or feel before coming back next week?
I would like to feel a squishy, squishy mule's face.
Okay, maybe that's not a realistic wish for everyone, but for Quinn it is.
For Quinn it is, because I will say, and we don't have time to get into my mule search right now, but I would like to just give a little preview. And honestly, I don't know if this is the mule that will be coming home with us. I really don't. But this is the first time yet that we are going to actually this weekend visit a mule and check them out and get to take them for a spin and see what we think. So that is very exciting to us.
That's very exciting. And we need to tell the pod that you had a goat in the house. Goat house
Riley.
Best day.
Riley is so excited about that. Yeah, I opened my front door for Alvin because he's standing outside of it looking ready to be let in. And I'm like, okay, come on in, buddy.
I'm so jealous that he wasn't in while I was there. That being said, Roger would have been like, now this is one step too far, you guys.
Yeah, the dogs did great, and Alvin is such a good boy and perfect, and he did not pee or poop in the house and was just very considerate. I basically have a house-trained goat. Not, but it was so funny. There was actually, when he was up on our front porch, a FedEx delivery guy came, and it is such a crack up every time I see the look on a delivery driver's face when they pull up and there's a goat to greet them at the front, and I see them taking pictures. It's funny. It's pretty sweet.
Okay, my holiday wish is to have a delicious baked good.
Ooh, I will adopt that as well. Yeah, 'tis the season. Stay jolly, everybody. Funny time for this episode, but obviously, even in the Christmas season, we have to consider surveillance. But
if you're gonna go do something that is maybe not allowed in your neck of the woods, just put the laptop and phone like in a trunk, I guess, and go to the other side of the house. I don't know what to say.
It's the sad thing. It's like, oh my gosh, even joking about weed, but then it's terrible and horrible and sad to be like, oh wait, yes, there are people in prison for so many years for actual very minor marijuana charges. Awesome.
We're not out of the woods yet, people, but we are in the holiday spirit, and Quinn and I have really strong vibrations right now for all of you. We hope you can feel it, and we can't wait to talk to you next week. You can find us anywhere at the Q&R code, at Riley Lillystrom, or at Quinn Lillystrom. And we'll talk to you so soon. Goodbye.